Hello everyone, and welcome to some Gem Miner Tower Defense. This game is in demo right now, but you can play it for free if you want to try it out, and it should be out in a couple of months based on what I read. For being a demo, they give you a ridiculous amount of content, honestly. There's 3 different characters you can pick from right now, and the characters all come with their own list of augments, and every augment and character changes the game pretty drastically, mechanics-wise. So like, Spelunker is based more around modifying your towers in certain ways or doing mechanics with those. Pathmaker's a lot more about mazing, and then Monopick is about having rerolls for augments. Along with that, there's 2 different maps now that also play drastically differently. Frozen Trail uses a waypoint system, if you're familiar with those, in tower defense games, and then Lava Cave is a little closer to standard standard mazing tower defense, but it has its own twist as well, which we'll see soon. And then next, on top of that, there's Classic and Reforged modes that you can pick from. Classic is a lot more in-depth when it comes to, you have to merge specific gems together into getting certain upgrades that you want. It's very detailed and in-depth. I'm going to be doing Reforged, which instead of having to merge specific gems, each gem just kind of has their own upgrade route, and then you spend a currency to upgrade it. Even for this being a simplified mode, it is more than detailed enough to still have a ton of depth. So for example, I can already show off one thing. So an Amethyst level 1 and an Amethyst level 2, for example, will have completely different build routes. And all of these build routes are basically just like a brand new tower. So if I were to grab this, right now it's a bouncing projectile tower. If I were to pick up Moonstone, it would go to being a tower that spawns other towers every wave. If I were to pick up Malachite, it'd become a bouncing tower. So basically every upgrade is something that's its own unique, mechanically different tower in most cases. And then in this game, enemies will spawn from a specific spawn point, and instead of building up your own walls most of the time, how this works is you kind of dig out a maze for yourself. Enemies will always come directly to your character, unless you have waypoints, which is a different mechanic. But anyways, enemies will all come directly to your character, and then drag them back up here to the lava, and if they make it back there, you lose HP. So next up we have Flying Waves, which is a staple in most tower defense games. And what works in this game is that as you... One second. As you build, or as you select your gems each round you get to select one gem, by the way. And then wherever you select the gem, it's kind of just stuck there, unless you have the character and the augment that can move them around. But it makes building up your mazes a lot more difficult in that way. But anyways, once I pick the gem here, you'll see that it makes all of the surrounding tiles into water tiles. Water tiles can be both a good thing and a bad thing. The downside to them is that flying enemies will be able to pass straight through them. Flying enemies can't just fly over these solid blocks, but if there are any water blocks, they can go through those. The good thing about water blocks, however, are that a lot of the tower types will have projectiles, and a lot of the projectiles cannot actually pass over walls. Diamond is one example of something that does have the penetrating walls ability, but the Amethyst wouldn't be able to pass through walls. So like, even though it has a range of all the way up here, it can't actually shoot up there because the projectiles will stop it. But that brings another interesting thing about this, is that there are also projectiles with ricochet or bouncing properties. So, like, this is a pretty good example of, if I were to wall these two areas off, I would have a really good box for bouncing projectiles here. Instead, what I'm going to be doing is changing this into Bloodstone, though, because Bloodstone is... Oops, I didn't mean to place a block there. Bloodstone is an extremely good gem to pick up early on, because oh, it's every single kill. I was trying to remember how many kills it needed to get the buff, but every single kill it gets gives it a stacking 1% damage buff. It's already gotten, I think, 15 or 14 kills that wave. All chance-based effects are 2 times more likely to trigger. Why is that showing on my... Oh, it's showing that it works on the Bloodstone because it has crit chance. Okay. I think I'm gonna re-roll looking for some other stuff, though. Buff Echo is pretty good with other augments, or with certain... If I had enough of the... I mean, I do have 2 opals down in range of it already. So that's already an 8% damage buff per wave. I think I'm gonna keep looking for now. I could get 2 more rerolls. I don't think I need that many at this point. Not really seeing the one I want. Now this could probably be good to... Whenever a gem gains a permanent buff, it has a 10% chance to gain an additional 10% damage. And that chance is going to be going off literally every time this kills anything. Not being able to move this stuff is painful. Being able to get this Chalcedony in range of the Bloodstone would be so nice, but I don't have any way to really do that, unless I roll an augment that allows me to move it. What Chalcedony does is just, at the start of each wave, it gives anything around it a permanent attack speed increase. One thing I can do, though, you might hit a spot like this where you have a decent stretch of maze laid out, but you don't really have any gems close to each other or at like the really good choke points that you want them at. What you can do to make up for that is you can place blocks even if there aren't water tiles here. So like, I can place a couple there to patch up the water, but then if I place one here, or here for example, it just starts revealing gems. That's one way that you can get gems exactly where you want them. I think if these opals were higher level, they could turn into Chalcedonies, but I don't have any way to level them up. There are some augments that can level your gems. I need to get the opals up to level 3 in order to do that. And levels are completely separate from buying these upgrades. These are considered tiers, I guess, and then levels are a different mechanic. Levels just kind of give it some base stats, from what I've seen. So for now, I maybe just want to get I can get another thing buffing it. I also probably want a slow somewhere around this area. I guess this run has basically just turned into making this Bloodstone into Thanos, basically. Seeing if I can make it as strong as possible. This is going to be another good pickup as well, I think. You could do a whole build around this pretty effectively. That might be something I try to go for in another video. So the Kalinian is a very, very cool tower that makes it where anytime this shoots, any other diamonds that I have out on the stage will also shoot at that same target. It doesn't matter if the diamond is like down here in the corner. It does not have to be in range at all. So if you make a really long maze and you have like a couple of these throughout and then have diamonds scattered around, you can be shooting at enemies for basically the entire time. Though, probably what I'm going to do at this point is change the diamond into the fluorite. Is it fluorite? Yeah, it is fluorite, not fluoride. I think fluoride is the stuff they use at the dentist. That'd be something completely different. I could possibly get a Chalcedony near this. I don't really have much else that I would want to take at this point, so we'll consider it. But what the fluoride does is that it gives a little bit of a stacking buff to any gem that I select at the end of each wave, and then after that happens 3 times, the selected gem will get a level up. So we have Envy Gem, which would be good, but I think this is just way better. Doubles all new buffs, and this is considered a... Yeah, this is considered a buff. Certain things are considered an enchant, but they're... Enchants are usually more specific to augments, or... No! I clicked the wrong gem. That is painful. That is very, very painful. I wanted to click on Pyrite, because... Or I wanted to click on this to show Pyrite, because Pyrite's an example of something that specifically gets an enchant instead of a buff. We might be going for Pyrite carry next, then. Oh, that is so unfortunate. That's what I get for getting ahead of myself and trying to explain things too quickly, though. I could grab another Kalinian down here, I guess? We'll keep it as an option. Yeah, so now I guess the next play is... Pyrite can really heavily carry runs, too. Pyrite is so good. And honestly, this gem, even without... having that stacking buff would have been so good. Oh well. It is what it is. Sometimes weird shit happens, and you just have to roll with it. Iolite would be a really good one to have up here as well. But like I said, unfortunately there's just no way to move it. So what Pyrite is going to do is, it's going to take 5 waves to really start going. But once the end of the 5 waves are done, it's going to get a very, very powerful buff. So I guess all things considered, having the Bloodstone to get me through the early game for Pyrite to start stacking up isn't the worst thing that could happen. It definitely would have been way, way, way better for me to get the Ornate on this. It would have just stacked up so much damage, but oh well. On the bright side, it'll at least allow me to show off more gem types and stuff. Okay, I think I should probably kind of hard reset into focusing on getting some kind of slow around here next. I don't really need to be building up the maze anymore. I could get Tanzanite, which is a stun. It's not my favorite thing. Appetite is a slow, but it's gonna be a very small radius, so I don't know if it's gonna be that effective. I don't really have a lot of options. Oh wait, is that an Aquamarine? I think Aquamarine is pretty good as a slowing tool. How close are we? We need 2 more waves after this one. Which should be wave 16, and then it's not going to get a whole lot of time to scale up, because wave 21 is the max you can go to in the demo. But even just once it gets one single enchant, you'll be able to see just how hard this thing can power spike. What's our Bloodstone? Is that about double damage? Not bad. Oops, I did not mean to mine that out. No big deal. I could go ahead and get another Aquamarine up here too. Or it might be time to start getting Obsidian and Shadow Shard. Yeah, let's do that. The Obsidian and Shadow Shard are just good for reducing defense of enemies. Defense reduction can stack as well in this game, and apparently, according to one of the tips, you can even put enemies into negative defense. So that might be an interesting build to look at sometime, is just see how much defense reduction I can get stacked up. Barrage would be an interesting one to go with the kind of diamond setup we have a little bit. But I don't think I'm invested heavily enough into diamonds. Okay, we could take Fury Plus. Is this... Okay, we might have like a pretty big power spike here. So I can take Fury Plus, which allows me to enchant something with extra fire rate stacking every time it attacks. And then what's going to happen now is that part of how the Pyrite works is that... Let me finish the... let me place stuff down first, so I can explain as the wave is playing out instead of stopping. Then I guess I'll just pick up another... Having another high-level diamond isn't too bad. So if Pyrite already has an enchant, it will always stack that enchant instead of getting additional ones. So now I have level 2 of Fury instead of just the level 1 that I put on it. That was really good timing for me getting the Fury enchant out of the augment. So now this thing is just going to go crazy on attack speed. So another cool mechanic of this game is that you actually get to pick your boss waves based around what you want to fight against. Not actually sure what I want to pick here. I think having the reduced speed on these, and then... Well, their tenacity is pretty high. I don't have a lot of slowing, but what slowing I do have will help. I don't want to do the slimes, because I want a big quantity of them for the Bloodstone, so I think I'll just go with the Goblin then. Alright, I decided to jump ahead since nothing was really changing too much build-wise. And now we're at the final wave. You get to select one last augment before you go into the boss fight. I probably should have just taken this at some point, but let's keep re-rolling for stuff. Triggerstone... I do have pretty fast attack speed with the Pyrite, so that's probably a good idea. And now I'm probably just gonna look for... I really just want more crowd control, if possible, which Tanzanite's gonna give me with the stun. So I got a couple of Tanzanites set up for now. It's not my favorite thing in terms of crowd control, but it's pretty much just what I got. I maybe could have put up an Appetite here. It's still just... It doesn't have the setup here to really be as effective as it could. And let's see, is there anything else I can maybe... I don't want to upgrade the diamonds because they have the effect from the Collinian. Oh, I never upgraded this, but I had more important things to do. I guess I'll just upgrade this into Malachite. I don't really need it, but I might as well spend my money. So, here's the final boss wave, and I really, 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 really like how they've done the mechanics for the boss waves. There's an initial damage check, and then it allows you to keep attacking the boss after that. Really? I only passed a damage check? That is really weird. But anyways, it allows you to keep attacking the boss afterwards, and then see how much damage you can rack up with your fully put together build. So instead of just like, instead of beating the boss wave, you can see like how much better I beat that boss wave compared to the last run, stuff like that. I really like it. You also get extra score based on how much extra you beat it. I'm really surprised that this setup was that weak. I've had runs where I've gotten up to like 4 times, even in a really good run I got 6 times the wave's total HP. But I'm surprised with the stacked Bloodstone and then the Pyrite, it wasn't much better. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this game. I'll probably do at least another video or 2 about it, and then we'll see from there. At least in terms of demo content. I will most likely be playing it again when it comes out in full release. But anyways, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.